from there. And then the reasons for going into the military were a couple things. One was they were paying my school, so that was certainly a big part of it.
Yeah.
This is the financial aspect, because as bad as school is now, the at that time it was a lot of money as well, and so I needed to find a way to pay for it. And then I also wanted to do a couple other things. One is a lot of my family had served in the military. My father had served. Most of my uncles had served, and so I felt that it was a very honorable thing to do, was to serve one's country. And I didn't want to look back in my life and say I wish I had done that, or what would it have been like. I wanted to have that experience, and so I had committed that I would spend 5 years doing that, and that's what I did. And then I wanted to be in the airborne. I wanted to jump out of planes. I wanted to experience that, and I wanted to honestly see if I had what it took to make it, because the failure rate's pretty high. So I wanted that challenge, and I wanted to see if I could do it. So those were the reasons that I went into the Army. And then when you go through airborne school, they'll take and assign you to airborne units, and then you have to prove yourself. Whether you get to stay or not depends on your performance and all that. So I got assigned to Fort Bragg, which is one of the few full airborne, except for the COSCOM, which is those are the supply folks. They're not airborne. Everybody else at Fort Bragg is airborne, from your engineers. They're an airborne brigade, the 82nd Airborne, all the MPs, everybody. Transportation tends to be part of COSCOM, but they have a lot of, within the 82nd, they're all airborne. If you're assigned to the 82nd, you have to be airborne. So that was all part of it. So yeah, so that's pretty much the
So can we get a little more of the experiences that you had in Hurricane Andrew, like a little more stories?
Sure. Sure, I've got a few, but there's, as I said, most of it is the traffic. That stuff's not exciting. I mean, except for, a guy coming at you with an axe. But the rest of that, there wasn't really much there. I mean, we did patrol the neighborhoods. We did it 24/7, so there were patrols not just at night, but during the day. We couldn't really stop and help the people. They were definitely, we're going through these neighborhoods. They're very tough neighborhoods. A lot of poverty, and these people were desperate, really, for food and water. I mean, there's no running water, there's no food, and so they want you to stop and help and remove debris and all that stuff. But that's not what our mission was. There were a couple of times we did stop, and including one of our soldiers was from Homestead. He grew up there, and so we did take, our commander took a shift of volunteers on our off time. So we had worked a 12-hour shift, and then he asked for volunteers that would go over to this kid's house, or his parents' house, and help, because they had a tree down, they had just debris everywhere and all this stuff. So we did do that, but and I went and I helped, and I didn't mind that at all. The only thing was that then you see all the neighbors, see all these Army guys there helping this one family, but not all the other families, and it kind of just, I remember leaving there going, all these people looking at us like, what, you're not going to help us now? You're just driving away. So that was the only, I mean, it was good to help out his family. It was good to help out, a friend, but it was challenging too, because everybody else is looking at you like, what the heck? They don't understand that you're off time. They see you as a government resource, and that you should be helping them. The Florida Light, like I said, that was the best gig. These guys these are guys going around putting up phone lines and electrical lines and all that, not phone lines, electrical lines. So the funny part is that it's just their job, but for us, I mean, we were eating MREs, which are, just, not exactly, after a couple weeks of eating those, you're like, all right, it's time for some real food. But when you got to the Florida Light and Power, you would show up at 5:30 in the morning. So we would get there at 5:30, and they were all eating, and so they would have us go to the front of the line and all that, and the just real food,
Yeah.
you can't get over when you're eating crap for so long that you get this real food, like MRE eggs are like green, and these are like nice and fluffy yellow scrambled eggs, and you're like, wow. And then real bacon and everything else, and it was just, the food was awesome. And then when you're about to go out, they'd have coolers for each of the trucks, that you could put water, Gatorade, and all that stuff. And they had these massive, essentially gut trucks that you go up and get whatever you want. And I'll take 3 Gatorades. Okay, 3 Gatorades, and everything's free. They just give it to you. And they loved us because we're there protecting them, because these guys had gotten hit. People had come at them with guns and stolen stuff. So they were appreciative that we were there. So at the time I smoked. I don't smoke anymore, but they were, yeah, smokes here. Here's a carton. They give you a carton of smokes, and we had kids who would dip, with dipping tobacco, and they'd get rolls of dip free, and candy and anything else they had. They just gave you everything. So then we'd go there. But the best part, besides that was probably the best part. But then all day, all you're doing is you're protecting them. So they're up there, they're doing these wires, and you're just making sure that nobody's coming by to hold them up or anything. But when they go on break, then we could go play in the trucks. And so we would go up in those things and go, zzz, and go way up and then go way down and drive around. We just thought that was the best thing. So yeah, that was a decent gig. After it was probably 4.5, 5 weeks there, there was essentially a resort down in the Florida Keys that decided that they wanted to thank all the troops that had come down. It wasn't just us. There were other units that were down there as well. And so they opened up their facility where the soldiers could go for a day, just like you go in, like they would literally bus them down from Miami or from Homestead down to this place in the Florida Keys, and you could have a little day of R&R. It was right on the beach. They had, you could go snorkeling. There was a pool. You could hang by the pool. You could do nothing. There was inside was all air conditioning, which was like unbelievable. A lot of people would just be inside because it was hot. And they needed people to monitor and patrol. And so it was funny because our squad got selected. We had probably been working one of the hardest, and we were also the squad that volunteered to go do on our own time to help out. And honestly, we did that with a lot of different things too, like the food banks they had and all that stuff. I mean, if they needed extra help, there's nothing else to do, so you just go and do it. So they gave us the reward of going down there and being the first MP squad to patrol this, right? So so we did. We would drive down every morning. We'd leave pretty early and drive down, and then spend the whole day walking around. They actually gave us little uniforms and everything too. So we had little shorts and a little T-shirt, and we did not carry weapons to that. So we'd just walk around, and the big thing was making sure that people were not drinking. There was no alcohol to be there, but nearby there were bars and there were, other things, and so some of the soldiers would go sneak off and try to drink, and then come back and get silly. So that's what you had to watch out for, and just make sure that people weren't being stupid.